Hello, and welcome back. My name is Dr. Christopher Gennari, and this is a special episode. In this episode, I know you have a question. I know. I even have the meme for it. So you want to build a snowman. So you want to build a snowman? No, you don't want to build a snowman. That's later. That is Elsa and Anna, not Anna. It's Anna. I've been told this. So your question is, so you want to write an essay. So you want to write an essay. All right. What is writing? Let's start right there. What is writing? Writing is only telling someone something over time and space. It turns you into the Doctor from Doctor Who. You are traveling with someone through time and space. Why? Well, you are writing something in a particular moment in time. You are thinking those thoughts in a particular moment in time. But when will I be reading those thoughts? When will I be reading your words? I'll be reading your now thoughts, the thoughts you're having right now. I'll be reading them in the future. And unless something really weird has happened, and I'm not happy about this at all, I'll be reading them in a place that you're not. Because if I'm reading your essay in a place you're standing, something has gone terribly wrong. So I'm reading them in a place you are not. So I am reading them somewhere else in some other time. So writing is just a conversation that you can't, what I really mean is, fix. You have to have it right at that moment, so that someone in the future understands what you're talking about. Someone who cannot see your facial expressions, someone who cannot read your thoughts, someone who is in a different place can understand what you're thinking, what you mean, what you want to say. So what are we trying to do? And the best way of showing you is Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom's taxonomy is the hierarchy of thought. The harder and more detailed the thought is, the higher it is on the pyramid. Literally, it's higher level thinking. So we have remembering at the bottom. This is why people tell me, I hate history. Because they haven't really done history, which is, we'll talk about where it is, but what they've done is names and dates. Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492. That's remember. That's recalling facts. That's memorization. And that's not fun. And I know that. And you know that. And unfortunately, that's a lot of what elementary, junior high, and high school history is. It's really social studies. You have to know this stuff about things. The highest level of thinking is where you create something new. You write a poem, you write a novel, you create a song. You don't cover someone else's song, you make your own song. And so you're creating something. Shop class, you ended up with a birdhouse. That was the idea. So what am I asking? I'm asking this. Thesis and analysis. I'm asking you somewhere on the evaluate to analyze level. You're not creating something new. Right? That's a dissertation. That's my thing. Right? That's what graduate students are going to do. Right? I wrote a book. My book, no one else had written my book in English. And even the Swedes who wrote about the topic I wrote about didn't write it in the same way. That's the point of the dissertation. Right? You're not there. That's 10 years away. Right? First year college, first year history class at college. But where we are is evaluate and analyze. We're in that bracket. between analyzing, differentiating, organizing, relating, comparing, contrasting, distinguishing, examining, questioning, right? And evaluating, appraisal, argue, defend, right? Evaluating is kind of more of your research papers. So I'm not asking you to do something, kind of go find. Here's a question. Now go and find an answer that, and create something. What I'm doing is, here's the information. Tell me what you think about it. So I'm asking you to make an argument, which is evaluate, but I'm also mostly asking you to tell me to use the materials I'm giving you, which is analyze. Right? What most people do, and this is why they get C's, is this. Understand and remember. The bottom of the pyramid. Mostly it's summary. They're rewriting their notes. So instead of telling me about the Egyptian army of the New Kingdom, they're going to tell me everything their notes say about Egypt and the New Kingdom. Figuring, well, the answer's in there somewhere. I remember the New Kingdom. I can describe it. And so I'm going to give you everything. But you don't really have an answer. You don't really answer the question. Because you're not analyzing. You're summarizing. You're retelling my notes back to me in less words. That's what most students do. And that's why most students get a C. It's not bad. It's what most students do in their first year of college, in their first year of history. It just is what it is, right? If you were to come back in a history 400 level, history 405, the Swedish Empire, we would be doing evaluations and you would never at any point be getting a C on remember. You go to graduate school, you don't get a C. There are no C's in graduate school. If you get a B, it's kind of a problem. Because the idea is you're supposed to be doing good work. So why are you not doing high level work? So that's the idea. There really are no grades in graduate school because it's all about the work. Is the work good or is it not? It's really pass fail. Either you can do it or you can't. So, all right. So how do you do well? First thing, and I don't know if these numbers are gonna line up with anything later on, but the first thing is Kevin Bacon. It's answer the question. And what is the question? It's Kevin Bacon. Why? Because everything's connected to Kevin Bacon. The 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon is the answer. Because everything has to be connected. You need to have an answer. The number one reason why people get C's is they do not have an answer. Whether they're afraid of having an answer, whether they're afraid of being wrong, it's mostly fear. It's mostly a lack of confidence, of being willing to say, here's my answer. Let me tell you what I think. It's, here's everything. It's in here. It's playing pass defense, prevent defense. You have to have an answer. You have to tell your audience what you think and why. Everything you write, from the first sentence on down to your last period, has to reconnect to the question. It has to always re-answer the question. So what do analytical paragraphs look like? Because paragraphs are the basis for writing. They're how we organize our thoughts. You cannot have an essay without paragraphs. Now notice I am not telling you how many paragraphs to have. That's a trope, a cliche that high schools have beaten into you Elementary schools probably do it too. And we are not writing 5-paragraph essays. We're in college, man. We're doing high-end stuff. But we'll talk about 5-paragraph essays in a second. But an analytical paragraph is going to have 3 parts. Every paragraph is going to have 3 parts. A what, which is the answer. Vanilla is the best flavor. Right? I have made a statement. I have made an answer. Vanilla is the best flavor. Some of you may argue with that, but I don't care because I'm giving you my answer. All right? So I have the what. I need a what. Part 2 of a paragraph, not of an essay, of a paragraph, is the why. So we're talking the what is the first sentence, the first 10, 15 words, right? First sentence, maybe 2. Then you have the why. Why is this the answer? Vanilla is the best flavor because, and then you're going to have an explanation, right? And that might be 2, 3 sentences. It's going to be longer than the what, because the what is a declarative statement. The why is an expression. So you're going to have 2, 3 sentences. And then there's going to be a sentence or 2 of a how. How do you know? Prove it. Go ahead, prove it. Now in history, we use history to prove it. In psychology, you would use psychoanalytical studies, right? In English, you would cite Shakespeare or Camus or the poets. But you need a how. How do you know? So you have a what, a why, and a how. Vanilla is the best flavor because your explanation, and this is reflected in the sales of vanilla against all other flavors combined since 1945. Right? We know vanilla is the best flavor because it sells more than everybody else. We know our explanation is true. It has better taste. It has this. It has that. Whatever it may be. Whatever those 2 sentences, 3 sentences are of that explanation. Whatever it is, it's reflected in the sales. Notice this is not 5 paragraphs. Paragraphs are topics. They're not limits. So my first paragraph is vanilla is the best flavor. My second paragraph might be Rocky Road sucks. I know I'm going to get fruit thrown at me for this lecture, but paragraphs are topics. They're not limits. So why is it a 5-paragraph essay? It's a 5-paragraph essay because your teachers had no faith in you. Because they looked at the class of 25 to 30 students and went, oh my God, I got to make you write something. All right. Here. Just give me 5 paragraphs. I don't need a novel. I don't need, can you give me 5? Here, I'll even make it easier. Give me an introduction, a conclusion, which you repeat the introduction, and 3 things in the middle. We'll call them body paragraphs. Can you do that? Because, I want to take a vacation. And this is going to take me a while to read. And this sucks. And you're going to mess this up anyway. So just give me 5 paragraphs, please. Nobody says, give me 5 paragraphs because that is the most awesome of... No. It's not because they have confidence in you. It's because they're begging you, please, just give me that. Otherwise, they would get one long handwritten diatribe of a thing that would go on for a page and a half, be ripped out of the paper, be ripped out of the notebook, the spiral-bound notebook right at class, and handed in with all the little frilly things on it. And nobody wants to deal with that. But we're not dealing with 5 paragraphs. My essays do not have 5 paragraphs. You can have 10 paragraphs. It depends on how many answers, how many topics you're talking about. Depends on the question. Depends on what you're explaining. All right, so let's try to do this. Explain which is a better pet, a dog or a cat. Notice I am not asking for a comparison. This is not a comparison. I'm not asking you to go, all right, dogs do all these things, but cats do all these things. A comparison requires you to evaluate the value of different aspects, i.e., friendliness, cleanliness, and independence. No, what most people do are not comparisons. What most people do are two summaries next to each other. Dogs do blah, 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 and that makes them great. Cats do blah, 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 and that makes them better or worse. And you're like, but they don't talk to each other. A comparison is friendliness. Dogs are friendlier than cats, or cats are friendlier than dogs, and then you have to explain why. And why does that make it better? Like, maybe you don't want a friendly cat. Maybe friendliness isn't a good thing. I don't want friendliness. I don't want a dog jumping on my lap just because I walked in the house. I want to be left alone. Cleanliness, independence. You take a topic and then you have dogs and cats in that topic, discussing that topic, fighting it out in that paragraph. And your job is to say, which is better and why does it matter in the first place? So let's go back. Explain which is a better pet, a dog or a cat. Clearly, the dog is the better pet. Let's just be honest. This isn't even a competition. So now this leads us to a question, right? Why? Clearly the dog is the better pet, right? Clearly. And yet you don't know why I'm thinking a dog is a better pet. Nor, if you're a cat person, why I'm obviously right that a dog is a better pet. So my essay paragraphs are now going to explain why dogs are better pets than cats. Notice I'm not doing a comparison. Now this is not the greatest question in the world, and I'll give you that. I try to do something that everyone can understand. I was going to do rock rap lyrics from 1998, but I also thought maybe that's a little esoteric and a little niche. So I went with dogs and cats, because everyone has an opinion on dogs and cats. And here's the thing. It's easy to fall then into a comparison. But the question's not asking a comparison. The question is asking you which is better. So your answer has to be which is better. So I have now said dogs are better. So now what do I have to do? Not now compare and contrast and differentiate. No. I now have to say dogs are better because. I now have to I have staked the claim. I now have to defend that claim. I have to defend that answer. So one, obviously dogs are smarter. Clearly dogs are smarter. Look, if you're watching the video, you know this. The dog is reading the newspaper. He's got glasses on, which obviously equals smart. I know this because I am an American and watch movies, and I know that all you have to do is put glasses on a girl, and suddenly she becomes the nerd in all high school movies. This was true in the 60s. This was true in the 80s. This was true in the 2000s. You put glasses on somebody, they immediately get 150 IQ. Again, notice this is not a comparison. Dogs are not smarter, and now I'm going to talk about cats for a while. No. I now have to talk about how do we know dogs are smart, and why does that equal a good pet? Why is being smart good as a pet? Dogs are independent. Notice this is my second paragraph. I've got a whole nother answer. Dogs are independent. Notice it's not a comparison. So what do we have to do? Again, I'm not talking about cats. I'm making it declarative. It's about dogs. How do we know dogs are independent? And why does that equal a good pet? That's what my paragraph number 2 has to do. And then, dogs are not evil. And I did not change the picture, so it's the same dog. But notice, it's not a comparison again. But what I have to now talk about is why are dogs inherently good? And we know why, because we say it. You're a good dog. You're a good dog. You know you're a good dog, right? But why does this now equal a good pet? So you've now told your audience what you're going to talk about. And your job is now to do that. And your grade comes down to how well do you do that. That's pretty much it. The introduction spells these points out. The first thing you write is going to tell your audience what you think right out front. A dog is a better pet than a cat. Dogs are smart, independent, and morally good. Notice that was our three points, right? There's no mystery here. There's no, well, a dog and cats have, no, I am telling you what my answers are going to be. You now know what paragraph 1 is going to be. Dogs are smart. Paragraph 2 is going to be, dogs are independent. Paragraph 3 is going to be, morally good. These three qualities, now I'm going to tell you why. What am I going to say about it? These three qualities make for an excellent pet because, underline that word, highlight it, block it, because that is the big word. I am now going to tell you why it makes for an excellent pet. It allows an owner to do things and have freedoms that an owner of a different pet simply cannot have. Now that works. It would be better if it was more specific, right? What things? Don't you already have a question? What things? But it's also the introduction. And so in my paragraphs, I'm going to have to answer that question. What things? What freedoms does an owner of a dog have that they wouldn't have if they didn't own a dog, if they had another animal? But I'm telling you, in your introduction, you are telling your audience exactly what you're going to tell them. You're going to tell them that dogs are smarter and that this leads to a better pet because it allows the owner to do things and have freedoms. So now all I have to do is explain what those things are, what those freedoms are, and how the dog equals those things. In fact, this is just math. It's 2 + 2 = 4. So everything you write will connect back to this. You have told your audience exactly what is coming right up front. What is paragraph 1? It's going to be dogs are smart. What about 2? Independence. What about 3? It's morally good. And what are those paragraphs going to say? That a dog owner can do things and have freedoms. So now you have to explain what those are. Compare what we just did, right? Compare that intro to a typical summary intro, a typical essay intro. Over the centuries, there has been a great question. Which is a better pet, dogs or cats? There are many reasons to say dogs, and many people will prefer cats. All of these reasons make it very difficult to decide which is better. In this essay, I will explain which is better. What's your reaction to that? Epic eye roll. I know I was going to put in the Tony Stark eye roll, but Marilyn does it even better. Epic eye roll. Does anyone want to read this essay now? Do you want to read that essay? Are you excited going, I am going to find out which is better. I am going to have an opinion. No, you're like, oh man, this is going to freaking suck. You have told your audience nothing. You have wrapped it in this gigantic umbrella of everything over the centuries. Are you going to really talk about all dogs and cats over the centuries? Really? Are you? Because that's what you're telling your audience. Oy. And you haven't made a decision. You haven't answered anything. You're saying, So your audience is like, what WTF, man? You know? So you have to tell your audience what you're doing. Then you have to do it. All right. Now that we have the structure, what are the ingredients? What goes into these paragraphs? Well, one, you have to answer the question, right? We already talked about that. Two, because we're in a history class, you need history. Events, facts, specifics. What happened? What happened? It's the title of Hillary Clinton's book about the 2016 election. What happened? What happened? Because it's history. We're trying to explain how these things equal. Right? If you don't have history in your history exam, you deserve a C. I think that's fair. Right? Because otherwise you're writing something else. You're not writing history. You gotta have, at some point, you have to talk about the events, the facts, the specifics. Right? And so a history exam needs history. And you might be surprised, but there are plenty of history exams never deal with history. They never talk about history. They'll talk about people and they'll name drop in Egypt but they never actually say in 1492 Columbus sailed the ocean blue. They will never get into the heart of the matter. They talk around the topic, but they never actually engage in it. What happened? So, here's an example. Isolation was good for Egypt, all right? That's my statement, so how do you know? Well, no one invaded the Old Kingdom. The Old Kingdom existed for 1,000 years in peace, unlike in Mesopotamia, where kingdoms were constantly fighting, looting, and enslaving and that should be a period. In Egypt, because of its isolation, people were able to live long lives, which allowed them to invest in themselves and their futures. Now notice, I even have this. See, I already edited. I just forgot to take out the original. See? Editing. We'll talk about editing in a moment. So let's go over this again. Isolation was good for Egypt because no other nation invaded Egypt during the Old Kingdom. The Old Kingdom existed for 1,000 years in peace, unlike in Mesopotamia, where kingdoms were constantly fighting, looting, and enslaving. That should still be a period instead of a comma. In Egypt, because of its isolation, people were able to live a long life which allowed them to invest in themselves and their futures. This investment made Egyptians wealthier and better educated, thus impacting their quality of life in a positive way. Now, notice I have highlighted 3 major words. Because, and unlike. Why would I highlight them? Because they are the most important words. They are telling you what is happening in your answer. They're telling you, I am going to explain. So the because is saying, isolation was good for Egypt. Because. Now, whatever I say after that because is going to explain why isolation was good for Egypt. In Egypt, because of its isolation, now I'm going to tell you everything that comes after that because. Now, it's in a comma, it's in a gerund, so I can change up the syntax a little bit. But everything that comes after that because is going to explain why the isolation is good. People were able to live a long life which allowed them to invest in themselves and their futures. Unlike is also a helper word. Consequently is another one. But unlike is telling you Egypt is different than somebody else. And what I have to now do is tell you whether that difference is good or bad. And what I'm telling you is in Mesopotamia, all right, that's who we're talking about who's different, there is constant fighting, looting, and enslaving. Okay. Because is a great word. You want to know why you get a C? I have students who will come up and they'll go, why did I get a C? And I go, how many becauses do you have? Count your becauses. And they'll say 0 or 1. I go, that's why you had a C. Because forces you to explain. And it tells your audience you're explaining. I like ice cream because. What's the next words in the sentence? Whatever they are, they're going to tell you why I like ice cream. I am breaking up with you because. What's coming next? You have said these words, or you have had these words said to you. What's coming next? It is the multiple reasons why you're breaking up with this loser. I am breaking up with you because. Or it's the terrible reasons somebody else is breaking up with you because, let's face it, you're awesome. All right? And they're just missing out on your awesomeness. But whatever it is, it's going to explain that first part of that sentence. I'm breaking up with you. I'm dating your cousin because. You don't go, why are you dating my cousin? And expect someone to say, in the history of cousin dating, there are many cousins. No. No. You're expecting a because. They're hotter than you. They're richer than you. They smell better than you. Whatever it is, there's a because. There's not a, in the history of dating, lots of people date who come together for a short time, but then meet other people, and those people are part of a web of meetings that bring us to Kevin Bacon. No, if Kevin Bacon shows up in your I'm dating your cousin because, something has gone horribly wrong. Unless the answer is he's Kevin Bacon. Your cousin is Kevin Bacon. Unless that's the answer, Kevin Bacon should not be showing up in your introductory statement about why you're dating someone's cousin. You do this all the time. This is not new. So I never understand students and why they stop doing it when it comes to a college essay. You do this all the time. What's the best Nirvana album? You fight about this. Are Cardi B's lyrics appropriate for young children to hear? Or are they okay to play? Or are her songs okay to play at, say, a 10-year-old's birthday party? Right? You do this all the time. You have fought with your parents over curfew, right? In which you made a cogent argument. No, I should be allowed to stay out past 8 o'clock because. Right? You do not say, in the history of curfews. No. No one's going to listen to that. Your parents would have eye-rolled you right out of the house. And then eye-rolled you right back into your bedroom. And closed the door. Right? So why you do this all the time? Why stop with history? I never understand that. And the answer is, you're playing it safe. The answer is, most people are playing it safe. They don't want something. They don't have an answer. They haven't really thought about it enough. So, the hint. Here's a hint. Your conclusion / your last paragraph or paragraphs are not where you introduce new ideas. It's where you go over the ideas you just spoke about and reconnect them to the question. It's kind of like an introduction, just at the end. Dogs are better than cats because they are smarter, more independent, and more morally good. A dog's independence leads to X. A dog's independence leads to Y. And a moral virtue of a good dog creates Z. Right? There's some answer there. Right? You don't suddenly go, dog's independence allows for them to pilot spaceships. You're like, whoa, wait, huh? You didn't talk about that in the first paragraph, first time you talk about dogs' independence? Well, now I'm going to introduce more and stuff. You don't introduce more stuff at the end. It's like you're leaving your significant other, right? You finished a date and you're walking out the door, and as you're walking out the door, they're like, oh, that was a great date. And you're like, yeah, I'm dating your cousin. Like, you don't do that. That's not how you end the date. As you're walking out the door, you add a new piece of information. You know. No. You say, yes, that was a good date. I'm very happy we went out for ice cream and then roller skating. And then we held hands. It was very nice. I even shared some of my gum with you. So, yeah, you don't introduce new things in the conclusion. So what do you need to do all of this? The first thing is you need time. You need time. And this is the number one thing students are lacking. They got 3, 4 other classes. Community college students are working. You've got family. You've got kids. You've got parents. You've got significant others, boyfriends, girlfriends. You've got a lot of things that are taking your time. And knowledge takes time. My dissertation took 5 years. It took time to think about. It took time to research. It took more time to think about because then once I researched, I go, well, maybe some of these ideas don't work. Then you had to do more research. Then I had to go find stuff that had never been found before. So I go into the archives and go, well, maybe I can find something that no one's ever written, no one's ever looked at before. You know, it takes time. You can't do a dissertation in 6 months. I know the ads are like, get your degree in 3 months. Like it doesn't work that way. Brains don't work that way. College has taken 4 years for 800 years. It's not because we're just slow. It's because that turns out to be the best amount of time, the most efficient way of doing it. Anything quicker, unless you are a much accelerated student, is just a paper. You're paying money for a piece of paper without the knowledge that's going to help you. So you need time. You need time to think and work out your answers and your explanations. I mean, when you break up with somebody, right? Do you break up with them and go, whammo? You just like walk up and like, I broke up with you, bye, and walk out the door? Right? Did you do it just a moment? You know, you go, huh, I break up with you. Well, wait, we're having spaghetti dinner. We were just talking about which Disneyland we should go to. Why are you, what? No, you're thinking about it for a while, right? You've been thinking about it for a while before you even opened your mouth to it. And some of you have had breakups that last a long time, right? Like from the moment you said, I want to break up with you, to the moment you actually finally broke up, could be months, weeks, months, years. And how many of you had friends who are like, I think I want to break up with Jason. And you're like, oh my God, all right, why this time? And then they're working it out. Well, you know, he never cuts his toenails. And you're like, okay, well, why does that mean breaking up? And you talk about it over and over and over again. And you've been that friend. And you're like, oh my God, we're going to talk about this again? Just do it or don't do it. You know, the phrase, poop or get off the pot, right? But that's not, don't think about it at all. It's poop or get off the pot. It means do it or do not. Make a decision. But don't stay in this limbo. At some point, you have to have an answer. 2, you need to organize. How are you going to make the case? What are the points you're going to explain? How are you going to explain them? Like, Mom, I'm moving in with my boyfriend in Florida. You don't just say that. You don't come in and go, hey, Mom, you know that guy you totally hate who lives 2,000 miles away? Turns out I'm going to move in with him. Bye. See you later. Don't call me. I'll call you. No. You got to work your way up to this. No. Yeah, you've done this. So, Mom, Florida has a bunch of great universities and a great job market. You know how I've always loved Harry Potter? I could work at Disney or Universal. And, Florida's expensive to get an apartment all by yourself. And there it is. Now you've led into the... So what do you think about me moving in with a boyfriend that you hate? Because let's face it, your mom is going to hate your Florida boyfriend. So you've organized. You've had time. You've now organized your thoughts. Now you have to actually do it. You have to write. And then you have to edit. And then you have to rewrite. The first draft always sucks. This is not the first draft of this video. I have spent hours. This is probably the 5th or 6th draft. And it's still not the way I like it. But at some point, you have to get done. So it's not the A+ video I would have liked. Which is kind of ironic, because it's about getting an A+. But this is more the execution than the knowledge. So the first draft always sucks. If I had given you my first draft of a video and just put it up there, it'd be a mess. I reorganized it, I reworked it, I rewrote it, I used different examples. Anybody who says, I work better under pressure, no, you don't. Your brain does nothing well under pressure. Your brain is terrible under pressure. Every brain is terrible under pressure. But what you mean is I work better is I got it done. That doesn't mean you work better. It means you did something you weren't doing when you weren't under pressure. It's like people say, oh, I love deadlines. Well, because you don't do anything until you actually have to hand it in. It's the deadline that forces you. Because the deadline means there's punishment if I don't make the deadline. There's a reward if I make it, and there's a punishment if I don't. But I work better under pressure. No, you just got it done. If you had taken weeks to work it out, it would be way better. If you worked on it half an hour a day, it's like going to the gym. Your brain is like the rest of your body. You don't go to the gym and bench press 500 pounds and say, oh, I'm done. Now I had wanted to bench press 500 pounds. And I waited all this time and I said, by October 1st, I will bench press 500 pounds. And then you walked in on September 30th at 11:50 p.m. and said, all right, let's do bench pressing. No, you'd die. The weights would crush you, fall on you and crush you. You have to work up to it. Hemingway said everything before the 13th draft is poop. He didn't use poop. He was Hemingway. But he rewrote everything every day. He'd write a couple pages. Steinbeck says write 2 pages a day. But you write a couple pages, then in the morning he'd read it again, and he'd edit and he'd throw it out, and then he'd put it aside, and then he'd write, and then he'd go back over it, and so the idea is not that I'm telling you write 13 drafts, it's that it takes time. You gotta go over and over and over it. If I did this video again, it would be better. Seuss, known as Dr. Seuss, said, so the writer who breeds more words than he needs is making a chore for the reader who reads. Yeah. Because if you're not efficient, if you haven't edited, your reader's going to pick up on that. Your reader's going to be like, what are you talking about? Why is this here? Notice I even picked up, oh, that should have been a period instead of a comma. But when I first wrote it, it sounded in my head like a comma should go there. And then when I'm re-saying it, it's like, no, that's definitely where a period should go, right? I've made it harder to understand than it should be. So a writer who uses too many words is making a chore. And then the writer Emma Hill writes, the first draft is black and white. Editing gives it color. because you realize what you're missing, what you need, what you should take out. Hemingway says editing is just taking out the unnecessary words. Stephen King says something similar about editing, about you kill your darlings. You kill your darlings. That's what editing is. You kill your darlings. And you have to kill your darlings. You have to take those sentences that you really liked. You have to take those descriptions you really liked. And you have to kill them. You have to cut them out. Because they're not working. And finally, what do you need? Explain it to me like I'm 8-year-old, like I'm in the office. I know stuff. But I don't know what you know and what you don't know. And the test is asking, what do you know? Not what do I know? And so I have had students who hand in stuff and I give them C's and they get back and go, what do you mean? Why are you writing Y's? And what do you mean? It's like, you know what I mean. That's not my job. My job is not to do the thinking for you. Your reader's job is not to think for you. Your reader's job is not to assume what you're talking about. Right? You have to tell your boyfriend, girlfriend, you are breaking up with them. You just can't be like, oh, you know, you know. No, you actually have to do it. So the test is asking, what do you know? So you have to explain it to me. What do you know? And if you can explain it to me, then you obviously know what you know. Because if you don't know it, then you can't explain it. Does that make sense? So I cannot know, because I am not in your time. I am not in your space, what your thinking process is, nor can you explain it to me. You're not standing there going, oh, what I really meant was. No. You have to do it on the page. You have to explain your thinking, your process, and you see this in emails where you'll write something. Why, you know, I don't know why I got what I got on the quiz. And I'll write back like, I don't understand. You have to tell me what's going on. Like, I didn't watch you take the quiz. I don't know what your notes look like. Like, here's some assumptions based on knowledge, based on the other students who have done it and my years of experience. But at best, it's a guess. It's throwing up a Hail Mary going, baby, it's this reason? You know, maybe you have crappy notes. Maybe also your mother is an alcoholic and she burned down your house. I don't know, because I haven't seen your notes. I haven't met your mom. So I don't know why you got a 10 on one of the quizzes. You have to explain it to me. You have to explain the process. Show me examples and be like, oh, well, this is what I can help you with this. Like, dude, you're using the wrong textbook. Like, those answers that you've written down are not in the textbook we're using. We're in world history and you're using an American history textbook. Like, you know, your best friend who said, oh, this is totally going to be the book and gave you the book for $20, you know, stole your money. So explain it to me like I'm an 8-year-old. Because if you can explain it to me, then you obviously know what you're talking about. Now, do I know what a dog is? Yes, I know what a dog is. You don't have to explain to me what a dog is or a cat, right? But you do have to explain to me why you think a dog is smarter and why that means a dog is a better pet. Because maybe I want a dumb dog. Maybe a better pet would be a dumber dog. I don't want a dog looking at me going, I know how to get the money out of your bank account. I don't want that. I want a dog who says, tennis ball. Yeah, squirrel. That's the dog I want. A nice dumb dog. So you have to explain to me why you think a smart dog is a better pet. Does that help? I hope it helps. And then you hand it in and then you wait. But by the time you hand it in, you already know what your grade is likely to be. Like, if you get a C and you're like, oh, that's an A, and that happens, I'm going to tell you, most of those kids most of those students have lied to themselves. It's the people, and a lot of them have this sentence that comes next. I've gotten an A in everything else I've ever done. Well, not anymore. Like, I had a great girlfriend right up to the moment she broke up with me. Like, then I didn't have a girlfriend anymore. You know, what am I going to tell you? Like, everything that worked in high school isn't working now. So get used to it. You're going to one day, there's a great song by Warren Zevon called Shit Don't Work. And he goes to the doctor. And the doctor, he says, I'm having trouble. I'm feeling kind of rough. And the doctor says, well, your shit don't work. And Warren Zevon goes, well, I don't understand. Everything was fine before. And the doctor says, well, all those things that worked? Yeah. Well, they don't work anymore. It's great that you got an A in high school social studies. That's terrific. On your book report on Columbus. It's not going to help you now in college. So you already know what you got. You know if you wrote a good essay, if you're honest with yourself. And be honest with yourself. Because if you're lying to yourself, man, I can't help you with that. You got to be honest with yourself. And most people who care about their grades, and I'm not saying don't care about your grades, but most people who are like obsessed, who are going to come and fight me about their grades, will fight me not because of the grade, but because they don't want to disappoint their parents or their grandparents or some other extraneous thing that isn't really about the grade. It's about something else. And my suggestion is work on that something else, because it's not healthy. The grades don't really matter. Because if you wrote an A essay, I'd give you an A. I don't want to give people C's and D's and F's. Man, that makes my life harder. Do you know how much longer it takes to grade a C than an A? I wish everyone wrote A's. I would love to give out A's. Every teacher would love to give out A's. The problem is you're paying me not to lie to you. So I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to say, this work ain't so good. You want to be better than this. Or maybe you don't. And maybe you don't have time to. Maybe your mom burned down your house. That's going to make things difficult. And so part of my job, part of what we're doing here in community college is to come to an understanding of who we are in this time and in this place, what we have control over, what we can do. And so my questions that I will grade on your test will be why and how do you know. I will literally write why after a sentence. How do you know after some fact, right? After some statement. The ancient Egyptians were liars. How do you know? Being isolated was great for Egypt. Great. Why? Why was it great? Like, don't just make a statement. Now explain it. If you have answers to those questions, you'll get an A. That's how that works. Because I'll know. You'll know what you're talking about. You'll explain it to me. I'll know what you're talking about. I'll know that the stuff you're talking about is right. You get an A. But if you're vague, if you're lacking, if you're like, I'm breaking up with you, and the person goes, why? And you're like, well, there are many reasons. Some are historical, that people break up, and others are specific. Oh, there's just several reasons. Hashtag reasons. Well, is that a good answer? No. That's a C. That's a summary. It's either lacking, or it's vague, or it's a summary. There are 3 reasons why I'm breaking up with you. Your mom, your grades, your dog. Doesn't that lead you to a question? Like, why does my mom mean we have to break up? Why does my dog mean we have to break up? Why do my grades mean I have to break up? Like, Huh? Well, you know, grades are very important to me. Yeah, and I got all A's. I don't understand. I'm doing great. I'm the highest person in the class. Why are you breaking up with me if grades are important to you? Do you see? You have to explain. You just can't say a thing and then leave it hanging. And if the essay is not knowledgeable of the topic, if you are just saying nothing, that's a D or lower. Overwhelmingly, the people there wrote it at the last minute and they just needed to get something done and handed in. They wrote a paragraph. They wrote maybe 300, 400 words. There's nothing there. There's just not. There's no thought because there's no time. They had to get it done. So they handed something in. And the idea was it was better than nothing. Okay, it's better than nothing. I have no values. I have no judgment about this. I am here to grade your work and say, can you do better? And if you can do better, this is how you should do better. This is the things you need to do. That's why I answer things with questions. Because what's your next essay should be? It should answer those questions. And so I have students who will go, well, can I rewrite it? Well, no. Because you were supposed to rewrite it before you handed it in. By the time you hand it in, that's supposed to be your best work. That's the work you want me to read. Because that's where the learning is. The learning is in the editing. It's in the rewriting. It's not in the, I got a grade and now let me just put in all your comments. Like, that doesn't help. That doesn't mean you're learning. You have to actually do it. You have to work it out. It's a problem. So that's where we end. You have to hand it in and then you wait. And you'll be fine. And don't worry. Grades don't matter. This is a big secret. And I know people are like obsessed with grades, but they don't matter. I'll tell you why they don't matter. I have had lots of jobs. I've done lots of different industries. And nobody has ever asked me what my grades in second year of psychology are. Nobody cares. They want to know, can you do the work? Of which the degree is shorthand for. But then there's an interview, right? And the second part is, are you cool? Are you going to be a positive person in our group? Because you don't work alone, you work with other people. Or are you going to be a giant pain in the butt? Are you going to be a problem? That's all they care about. Right? Because, and let's face it, if you worked at a place that cared that much about your grades, that cared so much about History 101 or History 102 or History 150, that they're like, oh my God, I can't hire you. Do you really want to work at that place? Because if they're that obsessed with something you did years ago when you were just starting out, what are they going to be like with your Excel spreadsheets? What are they going to be like with your lunches? You better not bring tuna fish. It's way too smelly. Better not use artisanal bread. Way too many carbs. They're not going to suddenly be nice and not obsessive about other things you do. They're going to be a giant pain in everything you do. So the question you need to ask is, do you really want to live and work in a place that acts like that? And I'd say no, that's an unhealthy place. That's not a good job. That's a terrible job. So I hope this helps. You can go over it and go over it and go over it. The examples are pretty good. I would love them to be better, but they're trying to be universal and they're trying to have something that everyone can connect to. So be safe. Good luck. Stay healthy. I hope this helps. See you soon.